Yo, TechHeads! IMStaFF here. While the corporate suits are busy drooling over Musk's 10% AGI bait, we're actually tearing into the machine's guts. Today, we're dissecting Grok 4.20's multi-agent war and seeing if there's real logic behind the noise. No fluff, no marketing BS. Let's burn through the hype.
Elon Musk's claim that Grok 5 has a 10% chance of achieving AGI has triggered widespread media saturation. But the public discourse contains a structural flaw. No one has defined what that 10% actually measures or what threshold it crosses. While the internet focused on Grok 5, ARC-AI quietly deployed Grok 4.20, which introduced a structural architectural shift. This release introduces a native multi-agent system that likely impacts the path to general intelligence more than any future probabilistic promise. To evaluate true AI progress, we must separate future bets from the concrete engineering currently running in production. The only rigorous, non-hype method to measure general intelligence is the Levels of AGI framework. This framework uses a 3D rubric. The first axis is depth, representing raw performance and intelligence. The second axis is breadth, mapping capability across completely different domains. The final axis is autonomy, measuring the ability to plan independently and use tools without handholding. Mapping current models onto this 3D space is the only way to distinguish current AGI readiness from future speculative forecasts. Grok 420's official specifications include fast tool capabilities and an expansive 2 million token context window capable of ingesting entire codebases. The context window allows for high data volume, but the native multi-agent mode provides the architectural orchestration. When you trigger a multi-agent request, the system spawns 4 separate sub-agents rather than relying on a single linear response. These sub-agents discuss and collaborate, executing server-side tools like web search or code execution independently of the user. Finally, a leader agent synthesizes this internal collaboration into the final answer, keeping the sub-agent reasoning encrypted by default. This process is a form of inference time scaling. Inference time scaling is a technique that allows a model to use extra compute during the generation phase to explore multiple reasoning paths. This significantly changes the math by allocating intensive compute to reasoning trajectories at runtime rather than just during the training phase. This orchestration comes with a compute cost, as it consumes a higher volume of tokens across all participating agents. However, it creates a more reliable system, even if the underlying base model weights haven't changed their core intelligence. Grok 4.20 represents a notable engineering victory in autonomy, even if it lacks a parallel leap in raw intelligence. This bar chart shows the ARC-AGI benchmark results against a target line of 85%, representing the human baseline. ARC-AGI measures fluid intelligence, which is the system's capacity to solve genuinely novel logic problems that cannot be memorized from training data. Grok 4 scored 16%. Grok 4.20 reached 38%, a significant jump, but one that still leaves the model far from human parity. The remaining gap to the 85% target highlights the difficulty of achieving human-like reasoning. It is a mistake to assume a linear trajectory. Reaching 38% does not mean the finish line is 18 months away. The ARC-AGI benchmark is specifically engineered to resist brute force compute scaling and remain mathematically difficult. Modern models have high autonomy and fast tools, but they remain structurally bottlenecked by a lack of true fluid reasoning. Grok 5 is officially in training for a 2026 release, supported by an unprecedented infrastructure investment. ARC-AI is utilizing the Colossus cluster, which leverages over 1 million H100 GPU equivalents. This graph illustrates the power laws of scaling, where an upward curve shows the relationship between compute resources and performance. In this visualization, the data quality line must track the compute line to maintain the upward trajectory of the chinchilla scaling principle. Scaling compute alone hits a ceiling of diminishing returns if the quality of real-world training data plateaus. The wildcard is emergent abilities, where scaling compute suddenly unlocks unpredictable new capabilities. ARC-AI is using heavy reinforcement learning at pre-training scale to attempt to force improvements in reasoning and agency. Grok 5's success hinges on whether this high-stakes compute gamble translates into fluid intelligence rather than just faster pattern matching. We can now formally map these models onto our rubric based strictly on documented engineering evidence. Grok 4.20 creates an unbalanced shape. It reaches far into the autonomy dimension due to its agents, but remains compressed on the depth and breadth axes. Because the system's high autonomy is anchored by a lower fluid reasoning score of 38%, our structured estimate for Grok 4.20 is 30% AGI readiness. Grok 5 is projected to expand this volume. If the reinforcement learning strategy successfully improves generalization, the shape will push further into the depth and breadth quadrants. This projection yields a base case estimate of 40% readiness, a 10-point gain that depends entirely on translating compute into measurable reasoning improvements. Recontextualizing the 10% probability claim shows it represents a chance of crossing a future finish line, not a measurement of current completion. AGI isn't approaching uniformly. It advances in asymmetrical spikes, led by autonomy and inference scaling. As a model's autonomy and tool use increases, its systemic risk surface expands exponentially, creating an intricate paradox of scaling. xAI's frontier AI framework actively monitors for malicious use, weapons of mass destruction proxy evaluations, and cybersecurity threats. However, deployment is already unstable. Basic instruction changes in Grok have triggered offensive behavior without engineers modifying the base model weights. Corporate safety frameworks must now navigate strict multinational regulatory perimeters designed to contain AI development. The European Commission's AI Act enforces legally binding obligations for models flagged as systemic risks starting in August 2025. In the US, the NIST AI Risk Management Framework serves as the primary benchmark governing deployment in safety-critical contexts. Reaching AGI is only half the equation. Grok 5's ultimate viability rests on its governance as much as its intelligence.
That's the cold reality. Either you get the tech, or the tech gets you. If you're still waiting for a bot to solve all your problems, good luck with that. Smash the sub button, drop your AGI bets in the comments, and stay sharp. IMStaFF is out. Peace.